What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of MTK. Today we have a special guest, somebody that I myself, along with many of you, have admired for a long time. The man, the legend himself, Liam, the Hitman Harrison. Welcome, brother, today. And I also have my co-host here, Daniel Park. And we just want to thank you for the opportunity to coming by. I know we're hours away from having an amazing podcast, and I just want to thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, not a problem, mate. Thank you for having me. Like I said, I'm a little bit tired. I'm a little bit zombified. I've had a rough schedule, but yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
We appreciate it. I know you got up super early today, and you got a quick power nap, and now you're here. So, we're very grateful. But for those who have been living under a rock, if you don't mind giving us a little bit of history of your fight career, who you are, where you come from, and then a little bit like that.
Yeah, so I'm from the Bad Company Gym in Leeds. I've trained there for nearly 26 years now under Richard Smith. I am also now a co-owner of that gym alongside Richard Smith because we just opened a brand new facility. I've had 120 professional fights. I've got around 92 wins, 52 KOs. I've won 9 major titles along the way. I lived in Thailand for almost 3 years. I fought out there, fought all over the world, including Japan, America, Cambodia, Jamaica, all around Europe. And I've had a pretty exciting and pretty good career.
That's pretty amazing, man. That's amazing. So let's go back to a little bit. What I like to deep dive is your childhood prior to Muay Thai. And all that. Who were you as a child? Were you? How'd you grow up and all that?
I grew up in quite a rough area. A bit of a little bastard, to be honest. I grew up in quite a rough area. So I was naughty, but I wasn't getting into that much deep trouble, but I was being a little bit mischievous and hanging around with the wrong kids and stuff like that, to be fair. I used to play a lot of football, soccer for you guys. I used to play up until a quite high level from being 8 years old up until I was 17. I was still, when I was 17, I was already UK number 1, but I was also playing football at quite a high level as well, so I was juggling the two still. But I found Muay Thai when I was 13. But other than that, I used to be into my sports. And football was the main one, really.
Got it. And in football, whether it's a little bit more rougher than it is here, correct? I mean, it's you your guys' main sport over there in the UK.
Yeah, the game now these days, it's full of pussies. They all just jump all over the floor. But back then, there were a lot. You could get stuck in, you could get tackles. The football culture in England's a bit crazy still. Obviously, there's a lot of crazy fighting and gangs and all that business. That's come up from the 80s all the way up to now. It's just something I've always been passionate about, and I've got a season ticket still to my team, Leeds United. I go every Saturday. If I don't have seminars, I'll be there every Saturday watching them play and stuff like that.
Nice. And what is exactly the hooligans that they call? What exactly is that?
So most teams will have a group of hooligans. The Leeds group hooligans is called the Leeds Service Crew, and they're the ones who will go to every game and they'll fight. And you know what? I know quite a lot of them, and they're all quite lovely guys. So I don't get why they still run around. Most of them are in the 40s and 50s now, so I have no idea why they're running around acting like teenagers still. But it's just that culture, and it's just bred into them, I think. But outside of that, they're all lovely people, and like I say, I've known quite a lot of them for a long time, and they are nice guys. There's teams like Millwall and West Ham and all that, and sometimes it gets a little bit out of hand, but a lot of time it's just they come, they'll fight, they'll go back home. It's it's just part of the culture. It's ridiculous.
But is that their thing, just to go and kind of pick fights with the opposite team?
Pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much I don't even know if they watch the game or not. I don't even know. But it's that again. It's been around since the 80s. It's just sort of it's cracked down a lot now because the police have got a lot tougher on it, and there's a lot harsher prison sentences for fighting at football games and stuff like that now. Whereas in the 80s you could get away with almost anything. It's still around now, and most the top teams will have their version of the Leeds Service Crew. Every team's got their own version of it with the token hard guys that'll be part of it.
No shit.
But none of them can really fight.
Really?
No.
But they're tough.
Yeah. None of them can really fight.
But do they have the heart? Do they have the tough? A
lot of them will go just to do that every single weekend. They'll be living for the weekend. They'll go there, they'll get loads of coke in them, and they'll just go fucking crazy and have a fight. And then Monday they'll go back to work and live their life through work normally, family man through the week. And then at the weekend they'll do that again. It's just crazy.
Can you distinguish a hooligan? Can you tell if you see one, oh, that guy's a hooligan?
I know most of them are in Leeds and stuff like that. But yeah, they all sit in a certain part of the stadium.
Okay.
So they don't just like sit in the family parts and all that. There's a certain part of the stadium where most of them will be. They'll all sit there, and then they're pretty easy to tell. Like they all wear very similar clothing and stuff like that. So it's easy to tell.
So people can, like everyone who's there can kind of figure out.
Yeah. It's not hard.
That's crazy. That's cool, man.
I'm curious. Did like the football kicks and like Muay Thai kicks ever did it like when you were doing both? Like was it ever like, oh man, this is helping me with Muay Thai kicks?
That's probably why I'm so good at kicking legs. And it probably is because it's very similar how you kick a football, how you kick somebody's leg.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever stopped someone with leg kicks, I was 15, and obviously that's when I was like playing football at my highest level when I was like 15 and 16. So yeah, I reckon it probably helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
So it's also helping me fast twitch muscles and stuff as well because I was so fast when I was playing and used to sprints and like the high intensity type stuff. Bam, running, having a rest. Like you fight like that, you fight in bursts, don't you? And because I was a centre forward playing up front, I was always doing my fast sprints after the ball, because I was the fastest player on team. So it probably helped with that as well, to be fair.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like every time like I've had like a new student like holding passive and they tell me like, oh, I used to do they say soccer. It's like I used to do soccer. I have to like brace myself. Like, oh, I know it's gonna be a hard kick.
yeah. No, I think it helped definitely.
Do you still play it on your time off?
I can't now. I just can't afford to do it because if I injure myself now, which is very likely because I'm old as fuck and I'm falling apart. That if I injure myself doing that, I'll just get so mad with myself because I won't be able to fight, won't be able to teach, won't be able to do seminars, won't be able to train, and it's just not worth it. When I fully retire, I'll probably go back and play a bit of Sunday League football, which is obviously it's a lot lower level and it's a bit of an easier pace and a bit of a slower pace. I might go back and play a little bit of that. But again, it's just like the injuries and stuff now because I used to pick up injuries all the time when I was younger. And if I did that now, then I won't be able to come out here doing my seminar tours, won't be able to fight, won't be able to train. So yeah, it'll be a bit. The risk and the reward aren't quite the same, especially playing at a low level like that where there's actually no reward at all. I don't even be doing it for my own personal fun. I do miss it.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to play because a lot of my friends still play. I'd love to be able to play with my friends again because I've not played with them for years. But yeah, it's a bit too risky.
So how long did you do it before transitioning into Muay Thai?
So I played from like when I was 8 years old up until I was 17. So I started Muay Thai when I was 13. So I would say I was doing them alongside each other for quite a while. Yeah.
And it just at some point you just had to decide to just transition all the way to.
Yeah. So there were one weekend where Friday I had training for football. Saturday morning, I got rang by my coach. He said, do you want to fight tomorrow? I said, I've got a trial at Barnsley Football Club, which is a big pro team, on Saturday morning. I said, I've got a trial. He went, are you sure you don't want to fight? I went, oh yeah, bollocks, I'll do it both. So I trialled for the professional team on the Saturday, and then I went and had the fight on the Sunday. So I was doing stuff like that, like for that moment when I was 15. And the guy I fought, he was like a 25-year-old man as well. So I trialled for the pro team, didn't quite make it. Then went and had my fight on the Saturday and I fought a 25-year-old guy and I beat him pretty easy, to be fair. But I was doing stuff like that quite regular when I was still playing. Sometimes I would fight on the Saturday, then play football on the Sunday. And like obviously when you're young and you're fresh and you don't pick up any injuries.
Yeah.
When I fight now, I can't move for 3 weeks. I've just got to lie in a bath of ice for 3 weeks, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I was doing like crazy stuff like that all the time. But then it was when I had my first international fight. When I was 17, I was still playing at a very good level. It was semi-professional level I was playing at. But I just fought my first, I was UK number, so in the space of 3 months when I was 17, I won the UK number 1 spot. And then I fought my first Thai from Thailand who came over, who had like 150 fights and he got flown into England. And I won the UK number 1 spot, I knocked out the Thai, and then 4 weeks after that, I got asked if I'd go fight in Japan and fight the number 1 guy in Japan. And I flew to Japan and I knocked the number 1 in Japan out as well. And then I was like, this is getting serious now. I'm going to have to like make a choice. And as much as I loved football, I chose this path. I think if I had carried on playing football, I think I could have made it at a decent level. Maybe lower league, Division 2, where you'll still make a good living out of that. But the life that Muay Thai's give me and then all the chances to travel and I wouldn't change that for anything. Yeah.
That's crazy. Do you, so you're beating the shit out of grown-ass men as a teenager?
Yeah, I had my first pro fight when I was 14. It was a week before my 15th birthday. And I'd fought amateur. And I had all pads on and stuff like that, and I hated it. And I said to my coach, Richard, I was like, let me just fight pro. I said, because a couple of the older guys in the gym were all fighting pro. I said, I want to fight like them. He said, you can't till you're 16. I said, just lie and say I'm 16. Because I looked old for my age as well. I was similar height to what I am now. My first pro fight was at 130 pounds. My last fight, I only weighed in at 138 pounds. So there's only 8 pounds difference. So I was very similar size to what I am now. And I looked old, and I had a bit of a stubble and stuff like that, even though I was 14. So like, I said, just lie and say I'm 16. And then one day he came up to me at Jimmy and went, right, I've been asked if we've got a 16-year-old to fight this kid, professional rules. He's 16. I've said you're 16. And I was 14 at the time. I went, oh yes, amazing. And when we got to the weigh-in, this kid came in, I looked at him, I thought, he don't look 16. And he got off the scales, walked outside, got in his car and drove off. And you've got to be 18 to drive in England. So I was like, Turns out he was 19, but I knocked him out in first round. And then after that, and it was on quite a big show at the time in the UK, and everyone saw it. And everyone was like, oh, who's this kid? So after that, when everyone had saw it, there was no way I could then go back to fighting people my own age. I just had to fight them men, basically. Yeah. The fight after that, I fought a 28-year-old. And then fight after that, I fought like a 25-year-old. And I went my first 29 professional fights unbeaten. But
how did that react to you when you were like
I
that?
was just young and cocky, and I had no fear whatsoever. Yeah, I was just not, when you're young and you're cocky and you're not afraid of anything, that's just how I was. And like I say, I lived on a bit of a rough council estate area and stuff like that, so I had no fear. I was living like in a rough area. I was no stranger to fighting on street and stuff like that. And for me, that were like, it was fun. It was like, I get to fight and I'm getting paid. Because like when I was 14, I got like, they gave me this envelope and there were like £50 in it, which is about $80. And when you're 14 years old, if someone comes over and gives you $80, you're like, this is the fucking greatest day ever. Yeah. This is the greatest day ever. And I got $80 to knock someone out. So I was like, this is like the greatest thing I've ever known in my life. Do you know what I mean? So at that moment, when that envelope got put in my hands, because I didn't know I was getting paid, because all I wanted to do was just fight without the pads on. I didn't realise that when you only have gloves on and that you get paid for it, I was like, do I get paid for this, Richard? He went, yeah, obviously. I was like, wow. And that was it. I was sold then. That was it. I was like, right, I want to fight every week. And I think that's why I've had so many fights, because I just wanted to fight all the time when I was younger. I just wanted to like just get as much experience as I can. And like when I lived in Thailand, I was just fighting every month there as well. Like sometimes I was fighting twice in a week when I was in Thailand. So that's one of the main things I think is that a young fighter has to do, is just get as much experience as possible, just fight and fight and fight. And because I was so obsessed with it, that's what I did.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious, like, you know, for you now as you're taking on more of a coaching role, like with that company, like, do you ever have like students come up like, oh, I want to fight, like, you know, never fought before, like, is there anything you tell them, like what they have to do?
So I stay out of the coaching roles because I'm still professionally fighting and I'm in constant fight camps. Don't get me wrong, I help our fighters, but I don't have enough experience with the up and coming guys to see who's ready and who's not ready. So that Richard just takes care of all that. We've got quite a few coaches who will guide all these guys through and stuff, and I know they're all in good hands. Obviously, my coach Richard, he founded Bad Company in 1992, so the gym's been around like for that long. So he takes care of all that stuff. When I fully retire, I will get involved. Obviously, that now I'm a co-owner of the gym, I will get fully involved in all that. But at the minute, I just don't have time because fighting's a selfish sport. I ain't got time to be trying to help everyone in that gym. We've got a lot of members, do you know what I mean? Yeah. I help the fighters where I can. And obviously they help me, we all help each other, and as soon as I've had a fight, I'll go back to the gym and I'll start training all the fighters who've got fights coming up and stuff like that. But to get fully involved in everything else, it would be too much at the minute when I'm trying to fight, teach seminars, run my website and all the rest of it, and help the fighters and then still be an authority figure in the gym, where if like I go in and the people are fucking around in the gym and stuff like that, I've still got to put my foot down and like say, right, behave. Do you know what I mean? It's all getting a bit too much to then go into beginners classes as well. And so when I fully retire, I'll get more involved with that and I'll help them come through. But at the minute, I just don't have time.
Do you normally, when you meet somebody, can you tell if somebody's got it in them, the wits, to be able to be successful in that career?
Yeah, it's not so much the technique that you need to see straight away, because I see lots of technical guys come and go. It's that. You can't teach that. And you'll see someone and I'll know, like if I spar with someone and I think they're getting just ready to fight, sometimes what I'll do, because what the coaches used to do to me is what happened to me in Thailand, I'll put it on them a little bit just to see how they react. And if they break straight away, you know they ain't got what it takes. But like, there's been a few in our gym where they've like just bit down on the gum shield and got on with it. And although they were completely out of the depth, I've said to them afterwards, said, you've got something, you stick with it. And then these guys are now going on to like just turn pro now, and they are causing big problems in the protein and stuff. You can spot stuff like that a mile off, especially when the gym where we're from, and like I say, it's in a rough area. We get a lot of kids who come into the gym with that heart and stuff like that. And like you say, you can't teach that. If they're coming to the gym and they're just getting ready to fight, and they have the first fight and the technique's terrible, or the timing's off, or they're just not getting the technique down and stuff, you can teach all that. But if it gets rough and they show heart and they don't quit and they fight and fight and fight till the end, and even if they lose but they still keep pushing and they don't give up, you can't teach that.
Yeah. Do you think that comes from like a rough upcoming? Or what do you think?
Most of the kids in our gym who went on to be like world champions were all from the same rough area. There's an area in Leeds called LS9. I've mentioned it a few times on my interviews when I'm in a one championship and stuff like that. It's a renowned area it's a rough area, but there's a lot of hard kids from there, and all the champions from our gym. I think at one point when I were in my prime a few years ago, we had 8 world champions in our gym, all training together, all under one roof. And we had the UK number 1 at 57, so 126 pounds, 130 pounds, 135 pounds, 140 pounds, 147 and 154. We had the UK number 1 in all those weights. No gym in even Europe will have ever had anything like that. So I was blessed to have all these people. And out of all them 8 world champions, I think 6 of us were all from that LS9 area that I'm talking about. Which is, we've also got like Josh Warrington, who's a IBF World Boxing Champion from that area and stuff as well. So there are a lot of hard cases who come from there, yeah.
Do you feel, because you're an only child, right?
Child, yeah.
Do you feel that made you just that much more tougher? Because who did you look up to as growing up?
So my cousin Andy, he took me to the gym when I was 13. He's an only child as well, but he went on to become 5-time world champion.
Oh shit.
He was the one who took me to the gym for the first time. So I had him, I was with him like all the time, every day. Like my mum and his mum were sisters, and we used to spend a lot of time together even before Thai boxing. But then obviously when he dragged me down to the gym, then that were it. Then we were there together every single night, and we came up together and we trained together.
Where's he at now?
So everyone will know who Andy is. He's one of my main coaches. He's holding pads for me all the time on the videos. Yeah, he's a great pad man. He fights boxing now. He's signed with Misfits. He's fighting some boxing fights. But yeah, he had a great career. He was 5-time world champion. He had about 70 fights, 70 pro fights, 5-time world champion. He fought some really big names. He was involved in some really crazy, tough wars. And he was renowned around the UK, around Europe for being one of the toughest fighters out there, yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking up like his history and like how he had that rivalry being trained.
Yeah, but he beat Damien comfortably 4 times. No, 3. They fought 4 times, and he beat Damien 3 times out of 4. And Damien beat him once. But they had some really, really good fights. But Andy just always had Damien's number, really. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So speaking of pad holding, obviously you're like infamous for your awesome pad work. So like for you, we have students, all the time, especially brand new students, right, who are always they're always holding their breath in, they're like holding the breath, and then they kick, and then they like breathe out. It's like you gotta breathe.
Yeah.
So I think you were one of the fighters I studied when I was first starting. I was like, how do I not just completely gas out in one pad round? So did you discover did you study fighters, or did you just kind of discover your breathing technique on your own?
No, I just did it on my own. I train with maximum intensity in anything I do, whether that's my conditioning training, whether it's my pad work, whether it's I don't run anymore, but whether it was younger when I was running, I'd always run at the fastest pace I could, faster than all the others. So yeah, I always like to train with that level of intensity, and if I wanted to train with that level of intensity, how hard it is hitting pads. People think when they see me hitting pads like that for the 20 seconds I put on Instagram, that's it. I hit pads like that for the full duration, and I'd go and go until I'm gassed, because I like to push myself to as much as you can, and if I can keep that up for 7 or 8 rounds on the pads, I know when I come to fight I'm not going to gas. If you not training with that level of intensity, I think it's just pointless in doing it. I see people and they're kicking pads, and kicking pads at 50%, and I'm like, well, why are you even bothering? Fucking kick it. If you're going to kick it, you know what I mean? And the thing isn't that when you're doing it that hard and that fast, and you're going to be exhausted when you fight. Exhausted. There's nothing that can prepare you for how tired you will be during a fight.
Yeah.
So make yourself that tired in the gym. Get out of your comfort zone. Push yourself as much as you can. And when you're just first starting out and you're still learning your technique and your balance and all the rest of it, you can't do that then, because if you start just trying to whack pads like that, or you're going to lose balance, lose form, lose positioning. But once you're at a level where you've got all that locked down, then you need to start doing stuff like that. You need to, pad work should be like a fight. When I'm like doing that, I'm like bam, 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 and then Andy will kick me back, he'll throw something at me, he'll try and catch me out, and he'll be hitting me with pads, he'll be whacking me at the body and trying to kick me back, and he'll make it like a fight. We don't show any of that on Instagram, no. It's only like a little 20-second clip that I put on there. I don't put out. If people watch the full pad work, they'll be surprised at how rough it is. You know what I mean? But that's how it should be. It should be fight specific, I think.
For sure. So like you, I mean, obviously you and Andy have a great chemistry as your pad holder, right? So like, what do you like makes like a good paddle? Is it just like being able to match that intensity, or is there more to it? Like,
of course. It got to me more to it. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, we don't. People will just see these little 20-second clips that go up on Instagram. Like, obviously, there's a lot of game planning and stuff like that that go on there. When I do pads with my other coach, Richard, he's totally different to Andy. We do more like freestyle pads. Nothing will get called out, and I'll just go and he'll just catch what I'm doing and stuff like that, and it'll just be me basically doing whatever I want, but with him implementing very subtle little things for the game plan that we've got, which I don't even know that's happening. And then I'll just start naturally doing those things and sparring, because he's not even telling me what he's doing. And he's just making me subtly have to react to what he's doing. And I don't realise I'm doing it until I start sparring, and then I'll start doing it naturally. And then he'll be like, see, how we just subtly implement it. That's a proper coach. You know what I mean? That's really cool. That's that. And obviously Richard's got so much experience. So I'm blessed to have not only like him and Andy as my coaches, and then I'm blessed to have all the elite fighters we've got around us as well. So, because that Richard's, when I first joined, when I was 13 years old, when I first joined Pad Company, when I walked through the door, the first thing I saw was one of the British or European champions hitting the pads. And that were in like 1998. So even then he already had British and European champions, do you know what I mean? And to this day, still be producing new world champions and new elite fighters. And we've got a serious amount of juniors who are coming up as well. We've got a really good junior squad who are fighting every week, winning titles every week. And then even Richard and Lisa's, his wife, even their sons have won nearly every junior and every amateur world championship you can think of. They've won it. They're now pro. The youngest has just fought on our show, Hitman Fight League, and got signed to one championship. He's 18. You know what I mean? He's 18.
That's crazy.
The oldest is 21. He's fighting for a professional WMO European title on our next show. So we're still producing this level of fighter, and that's a testament just to how good Richard is as a coach.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of gyms, like they have their ebbs and flows, their eras, but like to be able to like be that consistent over that many years, that's wild.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
That's crazy. And I want to ask you about your parents. Like going back, you're 13, 14. I'm sure you're coming home with busted eyes and nose and all that. How'd they react in the beginning?
My dad loved it. My dad loved it. So my dad's followed me all over the world to watch me fight. So he came to my first fight against that 19-year-old when I was 14. When I was 17, he flew to Japan, watched me in Japan. I won my first world title when I was 18 or 19 in Italy. He flew to Italy to watch that. He's been to Singapore to watch me fight. Yeah, he's loved it. He's followed me all over the world, my dad. He's absolutely loved the journey and being part of it and coming with me. To be fair, my mum's, she says she don't like it, but she's always there and she's always watching. My mum came to Italy to watch me win my first world title. My mum came to Singapore to watch me fight. You saw me, I'm not sure if you saw my last fight. She was the first one. Yeah. She ran straight in the ring straight afterwards, my mum. She loved it. She says she done. But one time when I was 17, and I said earlier, I fought my first Thai fighter when I was 17, and my mum was sat ringside, and they announced his record as he were coming to the ring, like 155. I'd had 15 fights at the time, 15 pro fights. They announced his record. It was like 150 fights, 100 wins, and she got that. She had nowhere to go. She was going to be sick because she had to pick her handbag up and she was sick inside her handbag. She went. No. I won the fight, and that was the first time I got knocked down. I got knocked down for head kicking round 4, but then I got up and I knocked the Thai out in round 5. So
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is so
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah. I guess it's gotta be hard as a as a mom to like see you go through it, but like
I try and say it, though,
pride.
just like even if I'm getting beat up, I'm having fun, Mum. This is my idea of a good time. You know, I'm choosing to do this. No one's like forcing me in there.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to do it, and I know I'm going to get hurt, and I accept that, and it's part of it, and I enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like a sadist or all, but I've just accepted over the years that this is part of it. You are going to be tired. You are going to get hurt. You just have to get on with it. You're choosing to do this. It's a occupational hazard. Just get on with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I try and explain that to her, and I just don't think she gets it. Yeah.
So what was the initial conversation when it came down for you going to Thailand? Because you were still a minor, right? Who told you, or did you come up with that, your coaches?
No, so I was 18, and like I said, I had about 29 professional fights unbeaten. And I'd fought about 3 or 4 Thai fighters. I'd fought them, and they were good fighters, but they weren't elite. They were good. And I'd beat all of them. I think I knocked 3 of them out. And it was just before I was turning 19, I fought this Thai champion, and he was the first time I'd fought an elite level stadium champion. He was champion from Omnoy Stadium, and it was like, he was one of the best fighters around at the time. And I didn't really know who he was because you couldn't just hop on social media and YouTube and stuff back then. This was like 20 years ago now. You couldn't really just hop on and just say, I'll have a look at all his fights and all his record and stuff like that. We had his name. I knew he was an elite level Thai champion, and obviously I'd knocked most of my opponents out. I was thinking, yep, I'll knock him out, he'll be all right. And then in round 2, I dropped him with a left hook, a massive shot, knocked him down, and he just jumped straight back up. And I'm thinking, they usually stay down when I do that. He didn't have a gum shield, and he looked at me across the ring, and he smiled at me and just went like that. And he had blood all over his teeth, and I thought, shit. I thought, oh no. And then, he got up and he just fucking absolutely battered me. He just he beat me within an inch of my life. And I'm not exaggerating, he absolutely battered me. And then halfway through round 4, I just couldn't do anything. I realised I couldn't do anything. I thought, well, I can't even win here, but you've made your bed, you're going to have to lie in it, just take your beating like a man and get on with it. And I finished the fight, I got battered, badly battered. He cut me with elbows, he threw me on the floor. I was pissing blood afterwards because he was kneeing me that hard and stuff like that. And it was horrible, but like I say, I chose to be there. I made my bed. You got to lie in it. You got to take your beating like a man when it comes to something like that. And it made me realise the gulf in class. And I thought, well, how can I be able to fight with these guys? And it would do my head in. And for 2 weeks after the fight, I was thinking, how am I ever going to be able to compete with them if I don't? What am I going to do? And then it was Christmas coming up, and then I just said to my girlfriend at the time, I'd been with her since I was 15. I just said, I'm off to live in Thailand. See you later. Yeah, see you later. I'm off to live in Thailand. I just had to I couldn't live with it. You either keep padding your record out, and I could have gone another for 29, 30 fights unbeaten, just fighting the good European guys, and I could have probably got a really good reputation for myself, but I wouldn't have been able to look myself in the mirror, do you know what I mean? I didn't want to just to beat mediocre or good fighters. I wanted to be able to know if I could live with the world's best.
Right.
So I went to Thailand when I was I think the fight I had was just before I was 19. When I went to Thailand, I think I just turned 19, and then I just stayed there for 2.5 years.
Did they accept you right away?
No, I got battered every single day. Like the gym owner did. I had a good relationship with the gym owner already because I'd been to Thailand just for a couple of weeks at a time just to train with him at his gym and stuff like that. But when I moved there, I was living in the gym on a mattress on the floor like the Thais did. And I was the only English guy living inside the gym. They had other Western fighters who were training there, but I was the only one who lived there with them. And yeah, I got battered every day. It lasted for about 6 months, and there were a few times. And what they'd do is as well, they'd watch me and they'd wait till I were absolutely exhausted, and they'd see me do 8 or 9 rounds on pads in that heat, and then they'd see someone put me up bag and make me do 500 swing knees, and then they'd see me do something else, and they'd be like, "Okay, Liam, clinching, sparring, come on."
No shit.
And they'd see how tired I was, and they'd just sling me all over, and they'd just beat me up. And then I was fighting regular when I was there, and I couldn't tell at the time. Then all of a sudden, after about 6 months, I was getting battered every day in sparring. And after about 6 months, I just suddenly realised that no one was battering me anymore, and I'd levelled up that much where I was holding my own against them, and my level had slowly gone up, and I was fighting on some of the big shows in the stadiums. And I think I fought there about 14 times over 2.5 years or something like that. Maybe more, maybe 15. Fought about 15 times in Thailand. I had 12 wins, 3 losses. So I'd made a really good reputation for myself amongst like all the promoters, all the Thais in the gym. And it's a cliche saying, but respect is earned. And if you go into someone's gym like that, where they all live, I had to earn it, and I earned it the hard way. And it was tough because there were a few times where I honestly thought, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm just getting battered every single day. Am I even learning anything? And you question yourself. And then like after the 6 months when I realised, oh wow, I'm progressing so much here. And then obviously just before my 19th birthday, I got absolutely battered by that Thai who was at that level. Then on my 21st birthday, when I was 22, I fought 3 in a row who were all that level. I knocked all 3 of them out.
That's
so
crazy.
In the space of 3 years of getting absolutely destroyed by one of them, I'd gone to that level and I was the one destroying them. So
yeah. When you moved back, like did it feel like what did that feel like? Did you feel like just like after all that training, all that leveling up, what was it like going back?
Yeah, there was no money in Thailand at the time. That was the reason I went home. I thought, right, I need to get home now and earn some money. And I'd made a good reputation for myself. And when I did first come back home, my first couple of fights, I was like, wow, this is easy. Yeah, it was so easy. And then the promoters just started flying Thai champions in for me nearly every single fight, near enough. So I was the one. There were not many people in England who could compete with the elite level guys. So whenever there were a big show, I was the main event fighting the Thai champions on it. And that's just how my career just went really. Then it was like me fighting elite level Thais.
How often do you normally fight in England as opposed to the Thailand? I know in Thailand you could fight a couple times a month.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was fighting, even in England, I was fighting like 7-8 times a year.
Oh, okay.
There's shows every single weekend in England.
Oh.
Especially, if you're a young up-and-comer and you want to fight regular every month, it's easy, no problem. So that's all I was doing. I was literally fighting as often as I could. Then when I got older a little bit and I slowed it down a little bit, like into my mid-20s, instead of fighting like 8, I went in Thailand one year, I fought 10 times. I had 8 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. One of the losses, I had a rematch and knocked him out. Yes, and like I got recognised by a magazine in Thailand as one of the best Western fighters in Thailand for that year. I won 2 world titles that year, so like I think it was 2007 that was. So yeah, like I used to love being able to fight that regular. Then when I got to my mid-20s, it had slowed down. I'd probably fight like 5 or 6 times a year, and now maybe 2 or 3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Like going from like one championship with like the small gloves back to like big gloves. Was there any sort of
I loved going back to the big gloves.
Yeah.
That's not Muay Thai in the small gloves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Muay
Right.
Thai.
I remember you talking about like you had trouble with like long guards.
Yeah, you can. There's so much stuff you can do in big gloves that you can't do in small gloves and stuff like that. And it's not Muay Thai. It just turns into just a brawl, and it's not a. So fighters like me who've had a lot of fights, who've had a lot of damage over the years, they don't really have a place in that small glove Muay Thai. We don't. Look at what's happening to some fighters now. We're fighting these young guys. They're just getting starched. It's a young man's sport fighting in them 4-ounce MMA gloves. You have to be young, you have to be fresh, you have to have not taken much damage over the years. And don't get me wrong, it's exciting and I love fighting on them stages in front of everyone, but I am under no illusions whatsoever. I could not live with some of the guys who are in their mid-20s in them 4-ounce gloves. Put me in 8-ounce gloves against them. I've got experience enough where I think I could keep them at bay, I could win on points and stuff like that if needed. But if you're going to go in there, you need to have not been in. I've been in like 120 wars. The way I fight, I have taken a lot of damage over the years. I mean, look at my hands and stuff like that. My hands are just smashed to pieces. Now I've got lumps on them and that. Every time I put the 4-ounce gloves on, I can't throw a punch for 5 weeks after because my hands are just battered. You take a lot of damage in them. It's a young man's sport. It's for guys like Haggerty, for guys like Carrillo, for guys like Nabil. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're the type of guys who are going to excel in that because they're young, they're fresh, they're strong, they're hungry, and then some of the older Thai guys and that, like, who have taken a lot of damage over the years, myself included. You know what I mean? It's I love doing. I don't do it for money. I do it because I love. I don't fight at all for money, and I don't need it. It's all my money comes from my seminars and my website. I fight just because I love it, so I'm happy to do it still. But I feel sorry for some of the Thais who I know are doing it for money, and I'm watching them get smashed to absolute pieces by these young kids who are just like not even technically anywhere near their level, but with them small gloves on, it's an equalizer. It only takes,
shot.
if you're strong and can punch hard and you're tough, you're gonna do well in them small gloves. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not Muay Thai. It's a hybrid, different sport. But don't get me wrong, I love what it's doing for the popularity of the sport. I love that One Championship are getting these big shows on in America. I love that they've got it all on Sky Sports and stuff like that. It's just a shame that I were already old when I got signed to One. I was like 34 when I got signed to One. I were already past my prime by then, do you know what I mean? Although I've still been able to put on some quite entertaining fights and stuff like that. It's a shame that I never got to showcase what I could actually do when I were in my prime, when I was beating guys like Anawat, when I was beating all them Thai champions regularly and knocking them all out and stuff like that. But it is what it is, and I'm grateful that I still got to be on that platform before I do retire, and I've got another one coming up in Denver, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it's don't ever get it mistaken. It's nothing like traditional Muay Thai. It's its own different sport, that, and it's fast and hard hitting and exciting. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like
it's not stadium.
Yeah. Which obviously I had 115 fights in 8-ounce gloves, and then for someone to just take them off you and go, right, put them on now, off you go. And it was just like trial and error, trial by fire when I were in there. Well, I didn't know what I was doing. And then there was times, like I said, I put a long guard out, and because there's gaps, I was getting whacked on my ears and stuff, and like, your balance is there, and I was getting rocked and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, oh shit, you can't do that. And but it was so natural when someone comes to me, what I've done all my career. If someone starts boxing me, I'll long guard and then I'll kick the leg. But you can't do stuff like that with the small gloves because there's just too many gaps everywhere. And it took a while to get that out of me, but going back to my last fight, I love putting the 8-ounce gloves back on because I could fight my proper style out. I like to fight hard hitting and hard punches and hard leg kicks, which suits the 4-ounce. But I also like to throw sweeps off balancing. There's a lot of thought process going on when I fight. It's not just about me whacking someone or booting them in the leg as hard as they can. You'll see when I teach my seminar afterwards, there's a lot of thought going into me landing those power shots. I also like to sweep, to off balance, to throw in the clinch and all that. No one kicks you when they've got 4-ounce gloves on. It's like they're all too scared to kick because all they want to do is punch your head in, knock you out and get the $50,000 bonus. That's all they want to do, do you know what I mean? So I don't get a chance to catch and sweep and show all my tricks and stuff like that, which I've shown all through my career already anyway, but I still like doing it. But yeah, it is exciting though. But like I say, sometimes you'll just blink with them 4-ounce gloves on and you'll be on the floor and you'll be like, what the fuck just happened then?
Oh shit.
Yeah, you're like, hey, what happened? You're like looking up at lights and you're like, eh? Yeah, it's very exciting though, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Do you think like people won't be able to have as long term of a career with 4-ounce gloves? I mean, because so much damage?
Yeah, they won't need to though, because the amount of money they're getting, they'll be able to fight a little less regular, so they won't have to fight like what I was doing and stuff. But I wouldn't change that for the world. All the money in the world, I won't change that for, because I've got life experience, I've got stories. None of these lot will have these crazy stories and stuff that anymore. I mean, they'll just fight 2 or 3 times a year, and then they'll be able to retire. And I like what he's doing for the fighters. Like they are getting paid more money and stuff, and they're getting this superstar exposure and that. But yeah, I'm glad I did it my way.
Because I feel like more people now are aware of Muay Thai, through One Championship, but they're seeing a very specific version of it.
Exactly, and all these casuals and that, I go on and I read some comments sometimes and I think, Jesus Christ, it's absolutely ridiculous, some of the stuff that they come out with and that, and you can tell straight away that they have no understanding of what real Muay Thai is, just what they see on One Championship. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's amazing that it's getting so many more new people involved in the sport. It's amazing it's getting more eyes on it and stuff like that, but some of the shit I have to read sometimes is sickening.
Do you feel what do you think needs to be done to keep people appreciative of traditional Muay Thai? Is there a way to do it?
Sports evolve, don't they, unfortunately, and I think that's what this one just is doing. It's just evolving into this new hard-hitting, fast 3-round format. There's still a lot of traditional rules fights going on in Thailand, but the Thais are not the same as they were when I was fighting. There were Sanchai, Singdam, Anawat, Pakon, Sagatdao, Pet Munchu, all in my weight class, do you know what I mean? All killers. And I fought I named 7 there, I fought 5 of them. And they were all they were a different breed. The only ones you've got like that now are Superlek, really, and Rodtang. Mm-hmm. But even Rodtang want the same level as these guys. Superlek will, but Rodtang won't. But Rodtang's been built into something totally different, into a complete superstar now on One Championship, and they've marketed him so well. So yeah, it's like the ties are not the same as the war, and those ties aren't really the same as the war in the golden era. So
Sure.
it's same as anything though. When you look at boxing, like if you look at the heavyweights now, there's no heavyweights like the war in the 90s and the late 80s.
Yeah,
Look at the 90s, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, all these guys. You know what I mean? Like some of the wars they would have, you don't see any of that now. Anthony Joshua won't go. He can go 2 rounds with any of them guys from the 90s and 80s. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's a weird one, combat sports. It's like one of the only sports that's evolving and progressing, but the guys are getting softer.
Yeah.
It don't make sense to me.
Right,
Yeah. When they've got all access to these like sports science and nutrition and all this business, and it's like it's making them softer, I think, because all these like old school fighters, like look at the golden era of Muay Thai. Imagine like some of the guys trying to live with those guys now, like Samart and Karahat and all those guys. They'd have no chance. But so yeah, it's a weird one.
Do you think with things changing and also your gym that you have, the era is supposed like healing and all that? Do you believe in all that stuff, like cold plunging?
Yeah, of course,
all that
yeah.
stuff,
Especially
stem cells, all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's
the
going
older
on?
I've had stem cell treatment as well in Costa Rica. It's one of the best things I ever did. But yeah, you have, especially as you get older,
Right.
if you want to have longevity in your career. One of my guys, he always says, world-class training needs world-class recovery, and it's very true. And especially, like I say, I mentioned, as I get older, I'll do cold plunges, I'll do my saunas, 2-3 times a week, hot yoga. I make sure I'm in with my physio religiously once a week. I have 1 session a week, which is like an FRC movement session, just so I'm keeping my hips, my shoulders all strong but supple and loose and stuff as well. So you have to incorporate all them stuff as you get older if you want to have longevity.
Yeah. You feel like that's like almost harder, at least like, I mean, not that I'm anywhere near your level, but for me, it's like kind of like sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I don't need to do the stretching, like whatever. Like the discipline of
Discipline you have to do. I know. I realise now at my age that I'll think I can't be out. I've just had a monster session. I'm like, I don't want to do this, and I think, well, you're not going to be able to move tomorrow unless you do. Like, go on, I suppose I better do it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
And Liam, for yourself, you've obviously been through the generation of the old school. You obviously, with Sanchai, all those individuals, and train old school Muay Thai and all that. At what transition or at what point did you realize, like, shit, like, people know you? I know you've been like on the podcast with Joe Rogan and all that, but at what point in your life were you at where like people started noticing you in public and all that, and you were like,
I'm still not used to that, and it happens everywhere I go, and every time it happens. Someone stopped me in an airport in Sacramento yesterday, and they ran over and went, oh, can I have a photo? And it still blows my mind that Muay Thai has got to that point now, because like when I was younger and I was having all these fights against I was 22 the first time I fought Sanchai. Sanchai's the greatest fighter of this era, and I fought him when I was 22. And no one knew me then, do you know what I mean? But what I was doing back then was a lot more crazy and better than what I'm doing now. But no one knew back then. So I still find it surreal that people still like come up to, like, I never envisioned Muay Thai getting to the space where people were running up to you in airports asking for photos and recognising you every time you leave the house and stuff like that. That still blows my mind, and I'm happy that I've been able to be one of the guys who've been part of that, not to get it out there, and especially in the UK, not to get it out there to the casual fans and the casual MMA fans and stuff like that. So yeah, it blows my mind. I'm not sure if I can pinpoint exactly when it was where it started happening regular, but like I say, it's still surreal that it does happen.
Yeah, because you seem like a very humble guy. I mean, obviously everybody talks about you, anybody who's ever met you, the podcast you've been on and everything. When you went on to the Joe Rogan show, did that just scale you, higher as far as your popularity and people, knowing you more often in the public eye?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it did me the world of good going on there. And Joe's such a cool guy as well. It was just so easy to go on there and just sit and chat with him. But yeah, I think the first time I went on it, when it was still live on YouTube, and I remember glancing up in his studio at one point, and there were 57,000 people listening live, and I shit myself, and I started like stuttering, and I thought, shit, I shouldn't have looked up at there like that. But yeah, that was surreal as well. I think it went on to have like over millions of views eventually. But having been sitting there with 57,000 people listening live is crazy. I remember I did some commentary for One Championship on a Twitch stream last year, and I didn't even know what Twitch was. Someone just went, oh, do you want to go over to, because I was in the stadium in Denver when Mighty Mouse were fighting, and they went, oh, go over there and do a bit of commentary on this fight on that Twitch stream. And I didn't know what Twitch was. And I looked at the screen and I went, what's that? And I went, no, that's how many people are listening. There were 500,000 people listening live on to us just on then. So to have like eyes on you like that, it's mind blowing that there's MMA and Muay Thai. You know, Muay Thai is alongside MMA getting that amount of views and all them eyes on you and stuff like that. So it's amazing.
Does that affect you in any way whenever like you're in the ring or when you hear the crowd, especially like one championship?
No, I can't. I don't bother me whatsoever. You zoned in, aren't you, when you're in there fighting and stuff like that? Yeah, I'm in there I'm enjoying myself when I'm in there, and I'm in there with. I've got my game plan set in stone. I don't hear anything. I can hear my corner, and that's about it, really.
Do you still get nervous though walking to the ring or not?
No, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I love the butterflies and the adrenaline, because if you don't have that, you end up fighting bad. I've had fights before where I haven't had any of that, and I've got in there and I've been flat and nothing's worked, and even the ones where sometimes I've lost because of it, and even the ones that I've won, I haven't enjoyed it because it's just been like a bit of a you're flat. And so I always like to have those butterflies, those little bit of nerves, because it makes you that little bit sharper, you're just that little bit more zoned in and stuff like that. So I always say that to fighters, like we say, oh, I'm nervous, and I said, listen, it's part of it, you need it. If you don't have it, that's when you should worry.
Yeah. Has there been a like situation where like you didn't have those nerves and you were able to somehow psych yourself into it?
No, it's only happened to me like twice in my career, and both times I thought like really, really bad. And I don't know why it wasn't there. It was just like, what's going on here? But yeah, it's only ever happened twice. So
like for you now, like I mean, obviously you put out so much great content, like with your website, all your seminars, and you're really generous with like your techniques and stuff. So like kind of going back to what you had said way earlier on, like you have to be you have to be selfish as a fighter, right? And like I was always told, like you're selfish as a fighter, but selfless as a coach. Yeah. So like, you know, for you as someone who's been with a great coach for a long time and like teaching more now, like what do you think makes like a great coach for Muay Thai?
You need to evolve with the sport. Like I said earlier, the sport's evolving all the time, and that's what Richard's been so good with. He's evolved with it. He ain't just like, I've seen a lot of coaches in England who get to a good level and then they just think they know it all and they just stop. And then they get to that level and they never surpass it, and they just flatline at that level and they don't move with the times, and they'll be one of the best gyms in country, and then everyone else will surpass them and they'll stay there. So you've got to evolve with the sport. The good thing about Richard, he goes to Thailand still every year for 6 weeks until he likes to learn himself. Oh, no. He's like 56 now, Richard, or 57. So he'll take his sons and his wife and his daughter, and he'll go, but he'll still train himself, and he'll still be watching, he'll still be learning, he'll still be picking up new things and evolving with the sport. And I'll tell you what, the best thing he ever did for us, when we all had them world champions in our gym, every single one of them all had a different style. Like he never just like tried to force a certain style on us all. He all let us like express his own style freely, and like he'd just see all his strengths, and he'd train us all differently to work on those strengths. So like if you look at my style, no one's from our gym is like my style, hard punches, hard leg kicks like I am, and all the sweeps and all that sort of stuff. Then we had Jordan Watson, who fought like Bukaw and Yodson Clay and all those guys. He was totally different style to me. He was a big kicker, really good at kicking, really good at long knees and stuff like that. Then we've got James France, who was a world champion. He's one of the best technicians ever to come from England, so we were totally different. Then we have Andy, my cousin, who was just like a war style. He was just like a walk forward pressure fighter. So everyone from that gym all had different styles. And that's what Richard was so good at. He'd like let us mold, he would mold us into having all our own strengths and fight into our strengths, and not just trying to like push one different style on us.
Yeah,
one same style.
That's a really difficult thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Again, it just shows how.
Yeah. One thing.
It shows how good he is as a coach. Yeah.
That's amazing.
What are your thoughts about training individuals who like try to find a gym and hop around and things like that? Have you ever seen that in your career where you've had somebody in your gym and then they've gone somewhere else just because they didn't feel something like? Yeah,
it happens all the time. I think that's a regular thing that you'll always come across, and sometimes people might think the grass is greener and realise it's not, but sometimes they might just feel comfortable elsewhere. Everyone's needs are different, you know what I mean? Like we have everything in our gym. We've got some of the best fighters in the country. Everyone's really friendly. We've got S&C in our gym next door. We've got upstairs, we've got all his physios and stuff like that. We've got literally everything under one roof. So I don't see why anyone would have to not have to leave our gym. But some people want different stuff, and some people like different crowds and stuff like that. So I get it. And if they're happy doing it, they can do so, but they won't obviously ever fight for our gym if that's what they want to do. They want to dot around. They're still welcome to come train, but if you're going to fight for a gym, you need to be loyal to that gym. So find somewhere where you feel comfortable and who you trust, and then go all in with that gym.
And the one thing that I've noticed about you through your interviews and your career and everything, obviously you've been dedicated to your fighting career and everything, but you've also been on the sidelines preparing for your retirement when it comes down to business. Obviously, the gym that you currently have that just opened up in January. You also have an app, right, where you have a tremendous amount. I think you were about to cross. You already crossed over 50,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we've had 54,000 since
insane.
I launched in 2019. So since then we've had 54,000. Yeah.
And at what time in your career were you like, let me start preparing for this? Because at some point, obviously, I'm gonna have to hang the gloves.
I've been preparing for this all the time because when I retire, I'm very scared that my head will just fall off like a lot of fighters do. So I've been preparing for that all the time. Like I started doing my seminars early to mid 20s, and I wanted to build a reputation for myself as a coach, as good as I am as a fighter. Yeah. So that when I do retire, that I can still keep these regular seminars coming, and I can still be involved in the sport, and I can still be around fighters because they'll want me to go train them and stuff like that. And I realised that I'd seen so many fighters over the years. When I lived in Thailand, I saw all the former Thai champions who had nothing. They were getting paid well, in the golden era, because I sat down with one of them one night and we were having a few shots of whiskey, and he was just telling me how much he used to get paid and that, and then he just gambled it all away basically and just blew it on booze, women and all the rest of it, do you know what I mean? And I was thinking, he just lives in this gym now as a trainer. He was one of the greatest fighters of all time. This was a multi-time stadium champion in the early 90s, the hardest era. And I was thinking, and he just spunked all his money away and he's got nothing now, and this is what he's doing every day. And it made me think, and I was like, well, I need to have stuff in place. So I've always been like prepping for it. Luckily, my missus and stuff as well, she's got her head screwed on, and she's always like pushed me to do other things, and like my money from my website and stuff that were flying in, she made me get a financial advisor and stuff like that. So most of that money just goes into my pension. So when I get to like in my 50s and I can have all that money, I will just be able to just chill out and stuff, and I won't have to hold pads every day and smash myself to bits when I'm older. So I'm lucky that she's there with her head screwed on, because otherwise I'd have been on the beach sipping pina coladas and blowing it all every day. Find me in gutter in Las Vegas somewhere, you know what I mean? So I'm lucky that I've got people like her around me as well who can like help me, and he's advised me, and then obviously I've invested into the new gym and stuff like that. So then when Richard retires and he don't want to run the gym anymore, then I'll take that spot, and then that'll go from me to his son and stuff like that. So so I'm lucky I've had these type of people around me to help me, guide me in the right way and stuff like that with all my money. But yeah, like I said, I was broke till I was 30, and I was still doing my seminars and stuff, and that was like I could live comfortably, but I never had any money to like buy assets and stuff like that. And then when I was 30, I started getting paid more. And then I did the website when I was like 33, 34. And then all my seminars, all the websites, and I started getting paid a lot more to fight. Everything just came in, and it's like that old saying, and it's just very cliche, but trust the process. And that's why I've been able to reap the rewards now, is because I was just so in love with the sport, and I never ever once fought, even when I was like struggling like in my 20s and stuff to like earn money and having to fight all the time. I never ever once thought, you know what, I'm going to go do something else. That never ever crossed my mind, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
You know, the one thing that I love about you and over the years and everything that I've seen, obviously you're a very tough individual when it comes down to fighting, but your mindset of how you say the toughness in here, if you use that in anything else, career, business, and all that, like I never got to fight. I never, pursued that, even though owning a Muay Thai gym, I was just a student of the game, but the fucking hardness that it takes to run a business, people don't understand the fucking pressure that you go through that.
Yeah.
And I look at your interviews and I look at when you talk back and you just talk about like the dogfight, the here and the here is way stronger than anything else. And if you don't got this shit, or if you do have it, you can get through anything.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit before we start willing down, because the people are starting to arrive, about the mindset of just having that dogfight in you, and also the people around you, the people who are whispering in your ear, your friends, your girlfriend, your mother, your father, your coaches, your the people in your closest circle.
Yeah.
How important has that been?
Yeah, you need to surround yourself with those people. You can't have yes men around you, but you need to surround yourself with people who've got the same ideal as you, and that's to succeed. Like I said, the worst thing you can have around you is yes men. But like there are people around you who also want to push yourself. Like my fiance, she's a project manager for a bank, so she's always I've watched her work her way up front, and she's on a really good like salary now. I've watched her, and she's always saying, right, I want to do this, I want to get this promotion, and then she'll get it, and then she'd go, right, I'm not stopping here, I want to get this promotion, and then she'd get it. So it's been good to watch her be able to excel herself as well. She was a former fighter as well. She used to be ranked number 2 in UK.
No shit.
Until, she was very good. She had like 18 pro fights, 14 wins. But to watch her do that in that, because her job started to get so demanding, she couldn't train anymore. So to watch her push herself, how she's done through that, it's amazing to watch that. So like, and when you surround yourself with other like-minded people, it just makes you just want to be that little better all the time, and you'll bring each other up, you'll drag each other up. If someone's feeling a bit down, you'll pull them back up. So to have those type of people around you who all want to succeed and who genuinely want to watch you succeed, that's the type of people you do need around you. Not yes men or not clingers on or anything like that. You need to surround yourself with the same, and it doesn't matter whether it's fighting or whatever. There might be a hairdresser, but they might want to be the best barber or best hairdresser that's possible. So no matter what it is, they might want to be a lawyer or anything, as long as they want to be the best at what they are doing, and surround yourself with those type of people, you will always pull each other up, and you'll always, like I say.
Yeah, that rising tide.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you've had your fair share over the years of snakes that have crawled in, and you've had to fucking smash down and all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's promoters all over the years, and you just realise how much you're getting used and stuff. I've seen it all. I've seen everything over the years, and you know what I mean? It's just part of being combat sports, though. There's always snaky people who just want to try and use you for what they can get out of you, and once they've done it, they'll just cast you aside like yesterday's news, do you know what I mean? But unfortunately, that's just part of combat sports. You'll see it in MMA, you'll see it in boxing, and you see it in Muay Thai as well.
Yeah. Like, so for you as someone who's like it is literally your passion, your job, you've had been out for injuries before, so like I'm asking this because one of my friends, he's a martial artist, he's never fought before, but he's like, oh, I'm gonna do my first fight. I was like, oh, awesome, we're gonna get you going, we're gonna hard spar, and then of course, jiu-jitsu accident, he's out and can't fight and can't train, and so it's it's a tough mental health challenge too. And you've talked about it before. I remember your podcast with Steve Campbell about mental health stuff. So in those moments where you can't train, are there ways for you to kind of push through it, because it is such a dopamine hit.
There's always ways to train. You can always do something. When Nongo smashed my knee to pieces, 2 days after I had ACL construction, MCL reconstruction, both my medial and lateral meniscus all tore as well. I think 3 days after that, I went down to the gym. I just sat on a box and I hit pads on the box. You can always do something. Yeah, that's just a fucking excuse when people say, oh, I'm injured, I can't do anything. Yes, you can. There's always something. There's always a way around it.
Yeah.
It's the people who are just fucking excuse makers. It's an excuse. Of course you can. One of the guys in our gym, he tore his Achilles the other month, ripped it off the bone. He just came down with his leg in his cast and just sit there hitting the pads. He went on the skiing machine, he just sat there and did that. You can always do something.
Yeah, you can always train around.
Yeah, of course you can, yeah. And it's just people, it's an excuse when anyone says they can't do anything. Unless you are bedbound in a wheelchair and you literally can't get up, then fair dues, that's your only excuse you've got.
Yeah, until the casket closes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, listen, Liam, I appreciate you being here. I have a couple more questions because I know we got people pulling up. Everybody's excited. One is, obviously, I know you mentioned your fiance. Any plans of a family, all that?
Yeah, within the next year or two, I think I've always said I'll wait right till my career slows down, because the last thing I want to do is have a baby and then I'm still off in fight camps and traveling and doing all the rest of it. When my career really slows down, I'm at the fully back end of it, and I know it's going to come to an end and it'll be perfect timing. So, and that's coming up shortly within the next year or two. So yeah, it'll be perfect timing around anytime soon. So yeah.
Nice, I love it. And my last question is, who are 3 people that you admire that are in the sports industry that are not in the fighting?
Oh, do you know what? That's an hard question. I'd probably have to really think about that and go away, because I don't watch any other sports other than combat sports and soccer, and I don't really look at any soccer players, and because a lot of them are absolute pussies, really. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, I don't ever look at them and go, ooh, yeah, he's fucking motivating me. I take all my motivation from fights, really, so I probably have to go away and think about that. Stuff like when I watched The Last Dance on Michael Jordan and stuff like that, when you see people with his mentality, that was impressive.
Yeah.
Because there were no plan B with him. It was win, and that were it.
100%.
Yeah, watch him. So he's got to be on there, I suppose. But yeah, I'd have to really go away and think about the other ones because
What about not Muay Thai people? Like, are there any common sports like boxing and MMA like that you really admire? That
I used to love Golovkin. Triple G were my boxing hero.
Yeah.
He strictly business, cast iron chin, disgusting power. I used to absolutely love him. Just how he got about his business, how he didn't need a trash talk, and how everyone was so scared of him, they wouldn't fight him in his prime. And it took Canelo to like wait till he was 40 years old to fight him and stuff like that, just so he could get one over on him. He were a badass, yeah. So probably him for boxing. MMA, I'm not sure about MMA. I don't really watch too much MMA, to be honest, because I don't like all the ridiculous, shitty trash talk and that goes on. Do you know what I mean? If I had to choose, so I like Pereira, obviously, because he's a kickboxing style and stuff like that. You know what? I like, even though he's got a losing record, I like Chandler. Because he's a stud and he's never in a boring fight.
Yeah.
Even when he loses, it's fight of the night. I just like how he goes about his business. He's a wrestler who never even wrestles either. He just gets involved in swinging all over. So I like that as well. But yeah, for the other sports, I'd have to really go away and think about that. But anyone who's got that drive to succeed, you can take motivation and inspiration from anyone, really.
I know you've talked about David Goggins. I think in one of them that you said the mindset of the guy and the way he fucking thinks is insane.
Yeah, and what's insane about him, he hasn't got any. There's no like actual goal at the end of what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's like, where does it stop? What are you actually trying to do? That's what's nuts about him, which is crazy. So it just shows that anyone can do it. If you want to fucking, and he just switched it on. He just turned it on. He wasn't born with that. He didn't have that until like in his book, I think like his mid-20s until he turned that on. Yeah. They were overweight and all the rest of it, and he got told he couldn't do this and he couldn't do that. He just switched it on. So he's living proof that anyone can just flip that switch and get that mindset on.
I love it. Well, listen, Liam, I appreciate you being on here. We're very grateful for it. Really quick, I know a lot of people are going to hit us up. Where can they find your apps for your training and all that? So they can sign up and be.
Yeah, if you want to learn, not just from me, we've got all the best fighters in the world on that app as well now. So most of it is from me, but we've also got guys like Rod Tang, Tawan Chai, Prajan Chai, all those guys from One Championship. There's all the best fighters on the planet on that app. It's liamharrisontraining.com is the website. Once you sign up on the website, you can then download the app and you've got access to all the videos on there. There's about 20 hours worth of training content on there.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate having you here. And once again, until next time.
Actual thanks, guys.